All right, another wrestling podcast fans. We have an amazing talent right now. This gentleman is creating a lot of buzz, even though he hasn't had his first official match. Joining us right now is none other than Skeeter Skyflyer. Skeeter, thanks so much for coming on. How's everything going?
Oh, man, this is awesome, man. This is so cool. This is great, getting a break and just getting to talk to people that want to talk to me. This is so cool. I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. I know you've been busy. We've been trying to set this up for a long time. You've got, a lot of things that you're involved in right now, but we got a lot to cover. Want to kind of get right into it. And I just want to ask for people that are listening right now that may not be familiar with you so much, do you kind of have a moment that you remember that made you decide that you wanted to become a professional wrestler? Is there any moment that you can kind of go back to specifically and say, that's when I decided I want to be a professional wrestler?
Yeah, I was, okay, so, sometimes when I was a kid, I was wandering around in the streets and stuff, scrounging for food, and, I walked by, and it's different now. They don't have TVs in the windows anymore, or stores, but I remember walking by, and I walked by, and I saw this guy, and this guy had a bird, right? And he had a bird on his shoulder. I'm like, look at that guy. That guy's so cool. And it was Coco Beware, and he owned a bird, and I thought, I want to be a wrestler.
That's great. I was going to ask you if you had some favorites growing up. I don't know how often you got to pass by the television, but obviously you said Coco Beware. Is there anybody else that really got you going as a kid?
Oh man, anybody like Jake the Snake Roberts? People talk about he's so cool because everybody's yelling all the time, everybody's screaming, and I'm gonna get you, and I'm gonna do this, and he talk real quiet, and that's why everybody likes him. I'm like, no way, man. He's got a snake, and he can take it to airports. He can take it to restaurants. He can go wherever he wants. He got a snake in a bag. And I just thought that was the coolest thing, man. I thought that was cool. I thought, oh, man, the British Bulldogs, people thought, oh, they're such good tag team wrestlers and stuff. It's no way, man. They got a dog, and they just get to take the dog wherever they want to go. They can go in a Red Lobster and have a dog. Oh, man, those are just some of the coolest guys.
Well, now that you're out there in the world, you're wrestling, you're getting ready to make a big debut at some point. Have you ever given any thought to maybe having a mascot for Skeeter Skyflyer?
Oh, yeah, I thought about it a lot, but as my trainer Marquee Extreme tells me all the time, you gotta pay your dues. So I'm constantly paying my dues. And I don't have any extra money to buy an animal to come into the ring with, so I'm always paying for wrestling school, paying for the WWE network. I'm paying for video games, for him to play. I'm buying his food, all his training supplements, cut this part out. His HGH, his steroids, any of the stuff, I got to go in that alley to buy. Okay, so record again.
Okay.
Any of that stuff, I gotta pay my dues. If you don't, you gotta spend money. If the champ makes money, that's what he always tells me.
All right. Now, speaking of Marquee Extreme, how did you find out about his school? And can you kind of take us through a typical training session with Marquee Extreme?
Oh yeah, it was. I found out about. I woke up one time while the show was happening. So I was just hopping backyards and just looking for a place to sleep. It was a real cold night, and then I woke up, and then there was this show happening right in front of me. I'm like, I love this stuff. This is wrestling. And it was the coolest match I ever seen. It was Marquee Extreme in a 3-on-1 handicap match. He was fighting the Mean Street Pussies. And he's going up against all of them. It was Joey Ass, Pete Fingerblast, and Rodney, and he fought all of them, and he beat everybody, and he kept his title, and it was just the coolest thing I'd ever seen. I'm like, I gotta get in on this, and I'm like, this is so cool, and then he saw that I was sleeping there, and he said, either you pay me a bunch of money to so that way I don't sue you and get you arrested, or I beat you down. And I'm like, oh, can't we do both? And so we worked out a deal, and so I've just been training ever since.
Now, would you say that you're the best in your class right now?
Oh, okay. I wish I was. I wish, but there's some good students there right now. Everybody's. I want to be good. Like Yoko Zubaz, he's real good. Yoko Zubaz is real good. He's got the look. He's got everything going right now. The mounter, he's good. Oh man, he always gets his man. He's got the whole catchphrase and everything. I mean, I'm trying. I'm trying to keep up with everybody with all the athletics and all the talking promos and everything. It's just hard. It's really really hard.
Well, speaking of that, what do you think are some of the toughest parts about your training with Mark?
Oh, I mean, it's hard to remember stuff because there's a lot of blackouts that I have. So, from time to time, I just, everything shuts down. It's like when you have a video game system and it sort of crashes, and overheats, and then it's broken, and then you got to go to the store and get a new one. That's what it feels like sometimes. So, just you're going through chair shot day, and you're up to, you're 5 hours in, and sometimes you just black out, and then Marquis goes like, "So what did you learn today?" I'm like, "Have we even started?" And then we got to do it all over again. So that's another 5 hours of chair shot. So it's tough. It's grueling, but you gotta put in the time and you gotta put in the bumps.
Well, I want to ask, Skeeter Skyflyer. That's a pretty unique name. How is that your real name or is that your ring name?
Uh, it's my ring name. Cause I got real scared. The first time I showed up, and I kept trying to think of cool names to come up with, and Marquis told me like don't use anything that's trademarked, and then the first thing I came up with was trademarked, and he's like, "You idiot, you can't do that." And I'm like, "Oh, maybe I'll be Skeeter Skywalker," and he's like, "That's Star Trek, man. You can't do that." I'm like, "Oh, all right." I'd never seen it, so I thought I could walk on the sky, and he's like, "Just change it up." And I'm like, "Oh, maybe I could fly through the sky." So that, you know, that's what I hope to do someday, is just have the ability of flight and fly through the sky. But Skeeter was the name, that's like the name that was pinned on me, on my baby clothes when someone found me. So, that's like my name.
All right, now you when you aren't training to become one of the best wrestlers in the world, you also take some time. You alongside Marquee Extreme, you guys have your own show on YouTube where you interview wrestlers. You do some video games. There's a lot of stuff that you guys do on there. The show's called On Your Mark, and it's also a channel, On Your Mark. What's the best piece of advice that you've received from some of these wrestling legends so far?
Oh, like okay, so yeah, we do that show, and we meet everybody, like all these guys. It's crazy when you see the interviews. Like, we have to cut down the time that they just look in awe of Marquee Extreme, because they're like, "What? He's a champion for over 15 years." And so there's times when they just look at him for minutes at a time, and it's like me whenever I see Marquee, that I'm in awe. I'm just in shock and awe. And they say stuff all the time. You're reminded, like, oh, they don't believe, like sometimes they just lose it because they don't believe talking to them, so I'm like, oh, even these top guys in their profession, they don't believe it. So it's, it reminds you to believe the reality of what you see. And the reality that I see every time is Marquee Extreme is a undefeated 15 plus year champion, and no one's ever beat him, and he runs his own company, and he makes all the money, and he's the top guy, and everybody's jealous of that. So when you're successful, I see that everybody's jealous.
Now, we've been following your career for quite a while now, and is there any update for us? Do you know an official date for your first official match for Backyard Wrestling Entertainment?
Well, I tell Marquee, like, hey, I'm ready. Like, I got the fire in my feet, and I got ice in my hands, and I got poison gas in my breath. Like, I'm ready to unleash all of this on any opponent that gives me. And he just tells me that I'm not ready yet, but when the right opponent comes along, it'll be the right time, and we'll make a debut, and it'll be good. And I gotta take him at his word. He's a champ. I can't. There's a lot of guys I want to try and have my first match with, just to get my feet wet. It's all about getting my feet wet and just not It's not ready yet, but I feel like there's somebody out there that I could challenge and I could beat him in a match. But no, he just keeps saying I'm not ready yet.
All right. Well, we're going to be looking forward to that. You're going to have to keep us up to date and let us know when that moment is right. But for the casual wrestling fan out there who, no doubt they will hear about you, but they may not have yet. So, how would you kind of describe your wrestling style to them? You've got flyer in your name. So, are you a high flyer? Are you a grappler? What's the best way to describe your style?
Yeah, like I put fly in the name and sky, so like I barely touch the ground. Like they got those guys like Rey Mysterio and Puma Prince, all those guys that are like jumping around all the time, and Johnny Monday, like all those guys. Uh, but that's like me too. Like I'm gonna be jumping all over the place, and I'm barely gonna touch the ground because I'm just gonna be leaping from pillar to post. And like there's grappling and brawling and all that stuff, but I don't think I'm too good at that yet. Marquee Extreme says like I got noodle arms, so punching him just doesn't do anything. Like when we do punches, he's like you better just keep barbed wire on your hands all the time because your punches don't do anything to anybody. Like one time I punched a cat and the cat just looked at me and walked away like nothing happened. So I figure stay in the sky. That's my butter and bread.
All right. Now we also know that a wrestler's look's pretty important in professional wrestling. About how long does it take you to get ready before you step into the ring mattress?
Well, so yeah, like when we train, Marky's like, okay, you get geared up. You can't just wear whatever you want to wear to go train. You got to wear whatever wrestling gear you're gonna wear because that's how you do it. So I go and I get my shorts and I get my sandals and I get my shirt. And so I, I got trouble with buttons. I don't know what it is about it. He says it's something that had to do with all the blackouts, but I can't figure out the button, so I just leave the shirt wide open. But it takes me like I gotta get in the right mindset that it's like I'm aggressive now and I'm gonna tear a guy's jugular out and drink all of his blood. But I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to tap into because it's just nice to see everybody. Everybody's smiling. It's nice to see him, and I like paying my money to Marquee because it makes him happy. That's the happiest he sees me is when I have a big wad of cash for him. I go, here you go, I'm paying my dues, and then like he's happy, and then he gets mad again, but. I figure it's like all the other trainers, like like Taz or somebody like that guy's always mad, So yeah, yeah, it doesn't take me that long, but it's hard to get a killer instinct in me because I'm just so happy all the time.
Well, we want to know for fans that are listening right now, how can they find out more about Marquis School? I guess I really just want to know, like about how much monthly, if you do it in monthly payments, or how much are you paying Marquis to help train you?
Oh, geez, every month it's $3,000 up front, first of the month, cash. That's the way it is. And he says that's nothing. He says like Lance Storm, like he's real good. Like he's a real good trainer. He charges like he says he charges like $25,000. I'm like, that's a lot of money. He's like, hey, you know, he's not even champion, so he's cutting me a break. So I listen to Marquee. He's like the Dudley Boys, they charge $50,000 each of them, and he's like, think of all the other Dudley Boys, they're all there, Spike and Big Dick and Sign Guy, like so he's like that's a lot of money. You can't even afford that, and he's right. I can't, So, $3,000 every month, first of the month, and it's worth it. I mean, sure, some of the luxuries, in life, they go by the wayside. Like a house, or some place to sleep with a covering above you to protect you from the sun and insects and stuff. But it just toughens you up, your skin.
Well, I guess yeah, that's a bargain. I think as with what Marquis doing, but has he taught you or have you came up with a finishing move yet? Or are you still working on that?
Yeah, so I've been like drawing a bunch. like on trees. Like I've been using a rock and carving and thinking about these moves I want to do and stuff. Because sometimes they say like you gotta think of stuff on your own. You can't just copy everybody else. So it's like okay, I'm gonna come up with moves. So there's there's the 450, and there's like the 805 splashes and stuff. And I was thinking like I'm just gonna go for a 2000. I'm just gonna do a 2000 splash and just like spin as many times as I can, and then I'll just land. And everybody always wants to land on their belly, which hurts me. I got a sensitive tummy, so wherever I land is wherever I land on the guy, and that's gonna do the most damage because I'll spun 2,000 times in the air. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Well, I have to ask you, and I hope this doesn't cause any issues with Mark or anything, but it seems that he doesn't have much respect for a guy like John Cena. What are your thoughts about John Cena?
Oh man, he hates John Cena so much. Like you mentioned John Cena when he's eating dinner and you're just sitting there watching him eat dinner, like he gets so mad. He gets fuming mad. It's crazy. I mean, I think it's weird. Okay, so cut this part out. So I think John Cena's like the best guy ever. I think he's he's so cool. Like he's America and he wins all the time and he's so awesome. And like I meet kids and kids are like, "Oh, John Cena's the best." I'm like, "Yeah, I love him too." And Marquis like, "You got the brain of a child." And if that's the case, like okay, but man, John Cena's so cool. I try not to let him know, but I think he's the best. And in the game, like we made the entrances of ourselves and stuff. I gave myself the John Cena entrance because it's the coolest one. I told him like, oh, I guess it's the default. There's something wrong with it, but I made that on purpose. Okay, you can record again now. So he don't like him.
Okay, all right. Now, your life must have changed drastically since you started training. You're a pretty much a household name now. Do you have any kind of obsessed fans out there? We know sometimes that happens whenever you're going from town to town and or yard to yard. Do you have any fan stories out there you can tell us?
Oh man, to be a household name, that'd be so cool. Like Windex, like everyone knows what that is. That'd be a dream. But Marky, he warns me all the time. He's like, "Hey, you got to look out when you go out there because fans are crazy." I'm like, "Well, really?" And I'm not really met any fans of mine, but he's like, "You got to be careful because they're crazy." And he's like, "You got to be especially careful for any of them that want to come and meet you. There are these rats out there." And I'm like, "Ew, gross." It's lonely. Sometimes you just want to meet somebody. Sometimes you want to meet a nice lady that just wants to spend some time with you or something. But he's like, no, you got to look away from the fans and run away as fast as you can and look out for these rats because these rats, they have diseases. And I'm like, ew, that sounds gross. Like rats go to wrestling? He's like, yeah, they do. And they show up and they try and bite famous wrestlers and give them diseases. I'm like, ooh, I better stay away from that. And I'm like, what about girls, though? Are girls like what? And then he shuts me down. He says, like, no, don't even think about that. It's like, that'll distract you from all your training and stuff. So, okay, I'll keep focused and, I won't be bothered by any of the fans. Like, he doesn't even want me talking to you guys right now. I started talking about him. Like, yeah, that interview thing you did? And he's like, yeah, don't you ever do that. And I said, okay. So I'm just taking a break right now at Radio Shack and using one of the cell phones on the floor and just calling you guys.
Well, we appreciate your time. We hope that we get you in too much trouble. But I want to ask, we talked a little bit earlier. You think that there's somebody out there for Skeeter Skyflyer to wrestle, but if you could have a dream match, Skeeter Skyflyer versus anybody out there today, who would you want to wrestle?
Oh man, if I could wrestle anyone, like anyone that's wrestling today, God, there's so many guys. Like, I'd be too intimidated to wrestle John Cena, and I've seen him wrestle everybody, so I know he'd win. I know the Undertaker would win. I know Brock Lesnar would win. There's a lot of guys that would win. I don't know, maybe like some guy like, I wrestle like, I think I wrestle like one of them social outcasts. Like I'd wrestle Bo Dallas, because maybe I could, he's always running around the ring and stuff, and maybe I could get a count out or something like that. And then I beat a whole faction, it's like the one guy that beat NWO, but the social outcast. Like I think I could do that. And then if they got like all jealous and stuff, then maybe I could join them, and then I'd be in the big leagues then.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to. I think that anybody listening to this right now should tweet Bo Dallas and let him know that Skeeter Skyflyer would definitely like to have a dream match with him. So, hashtag Skeeter Skyflyer Bo Dallas is what I'm going with. But you said you work at Radio Shack, and we know that a lot of wrestlers out there are getting endorsement deals. Have any companies reached out to you yet about you being a part of their company?
Well, yeah, that's one of the things that Marquee Extreme's always thinking ahead. He's always forward thinking. And he's like, hey, go out there, and when you're working, you go out to all the companies and you have them sponsor the shows, because we got Battleground coming up soon, and so we're getting all these bottles together and we're smashing them, because there's not going to be any ring mat. It's just all going to be broken shards of bottles. So he's like, go get free bottles, and go see if Kroger is gonna sponsor the show, or go talk to Winn Dixie and see if they're gonna sponsor the show, or a Piggly Wiggly and see if they're gonna sponsor the show. And I tell them what it is, and nobody ever seems to be interested. And they say like, oh, is it like WWE? And I say no, it's way better. I mean, it's like smaller and stuff, but it doesn't have to be big to be good. So we're always trying to get endorsement deals and stuff. Like one time, we got a free Subway sandwich for the show, because I went into a Subway and I just kept talking to them, and they eventually gave me the sandwich to leave. But I came back and hey, everybody got to split the sandwich, like all the crowd and all the wrestlers. So it was a good night for everybody. We had free food.
Well, we know you're really busy and that you probably have to get back to work soon, but we just got a few more questions for you.
All right.
We read on one of the dirt sheets, and we just want to know, we're coming to you personally to find out if there's any truth to the rumor that they were scouting you for this new upcoming Cruiserweight Classic on the WWE Network.
For real?
You
think they were?
That's what we read.
Oh man, I mean, there's a guy that showed up in a black suit and had these dark sunglasses, and Marquis just kept talking to him the whole time, and then that guy in the glasses and stuff would like point at us and all that. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know if it was some sort of reporter or one of those men in black guys, like he saw aliens around there, something like that. So I didn't know what it was. So he told me to stay away because that guy's trouble. So I did. But man, if they were scouting me for that, that would have been so cool. Like I could have fought those guys that they're all cruiserweight guys. Like I could have fought. Oh, I mean, I don't even know who else in the like Juventud. I could have fought Juventud in the classic. That would have been cool. And like basically all the Mexico guys, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, I'd definitely ask old Mark about that, because that's what they're saying on the dirt sheet. So.
But he's right though. If I'm not ready, I'm not ready yet. That's a big stage, and if he thinks I'm not, and he should be there too. He should be in the Cruiserweight Classic, even though he's not a cruiserweight. He eats a lot of pizza to be a cruiserweight, but he says he can do everything. So the champ before the chump is what he always says. So that's what I live by.
All right. Well, we mentioned it earlier, but can you just tell everybody once again where they can find all of your training videos and all of your interviews with wrestlers? It's on YouTube, but can you just let us know where to find that?
Oh yeah, so we got a bunch of stuff. Like there's always stuff going out all the time, and we're shooting new videos all the time. So there's always stuff, and like there's big names that we got on these shows, man. Like that guy John Morrison, and Marty Jannetty. Virgil and Melina and Billy Gunn and Al Snow, and Matt Hardy. Like there's a ton of guys that like I said, they're in awe and they want to be a part of the show. So like there's the Facebook. We got Facebook.com Karate Chop on your mark show. It's that line, the Karate Chop line. So then you got the OYM show on Twitter, and then YouTube.com Karate Chop on your mark show. So like it's all there. Like if you just like and subscribe it and all that. Like, it all just comes straight to you. So, that it's so fun for me to just do this and hang out with the champ and meet all these guys. And, I mean, we don't really ever hear from them again, but I think they're just starstruck, and so they don't know what to do.
Well, we want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. We know that you're getting ready for Battleground. We know that you're living the dream, and we want to thank you so much for coming on today. And we look forward to having you back on sometime in the future.
Yeah, man, this is awesome. This show's cool. Like, you guys getting all these names, and then you get me on there. Like, this is awesome. This is my first one. I'm so excited.